Jalama prize afana.
What?
Definition.
Okay,
And how they
Uthapi aka Nana.
Unana
Ga happy wakhe.
Yeah, I will. No
will.
way. Yeah.
Okay,
guys,
so
this is the show that brings you upcoming and renowned artists, whether local or international. Sizonilethela bonke.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Exposure Hour, the #1 podcast in SA. In this podcast, we bring you nothing but amazing insights on our upcoming artists, locally and international. On today's episode, we have the most talented Englibeth. Hi, sir. How are you?
Hi, Lebo. Are you good?
I'm good, thanks. And how are
I'm
you?
good.
I'm good.
Yes.
Hey, thank you for, allowing us to host you on this platform.
Yeah, I think thanks to you guys, for having us, and hosting us. I mean, it's amazing because, it means are we're starting relationships, and that's great.
Yes, that's very essential.
Mm-hmm.
Building connections.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's what this platform is about. I mean, it's about connecting each other as artists and, exposing ourselves, not in like a weird way, but in a good way, in an influential way.
Yeah, we have to expose ourselves.
Yes.
Either way, whatever that means, that's
Yes,
cool by me.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, Mr. Engelbert, please tell us more about yourself. Please tell us more about your background.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you are a Zimbabwean born.
Absolutely.
Yes. And how has that been?
I mean, so I was born in Zim, to two Zim parents, and I had my childhood in Harare. I spent about 8 years, or 7 years. Then my parents decided that they needed to move to Limpopo, and they were doing a lot of their authors, for books, for curriculum for countries like Zambia and stuff like that. So it only made sense for them to be closer, I think, closer to Cape Town because of that's where most of the publishing companies are at or something like that.
Yes.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So I also did my own research about you, obviously, and since you've also mentioned that your parents are authors of like educational they do educational books and whatnot. How has it been like growing in that kind of environment, having parents that have been like, that are very invested in education? How has that been for you?
I would say that my entire family, I think, extended family and stuff like that, they are into education, teaching, etc., etc. So in terms of how um, that experience was, I think for me, I was fortunate to be smart. So I was, smart. If you are smart in Zim, automatically you are smart in South Africa because South Africans have this thing that Zim people are smart.
Yes, most definitely.
So yes, I was certified by both countries, which is kind of like amazing. And I have to give credit obviously to my mom because she was that kind of woman that wants you to be always pushing and pushing. If you have bad results, that holiday is gonna be terrible for you or something. Yeah,
I can only imagine.
yes. So I didn't want any trouble or anything. So I always like excelled, like straight A student, and I guess that gives you an advantage, over your peers because, all of a sudden now everybody needs you to help them with something, homework or something like that, So that'll make relationships or even dealing with bullies a little bit easier for you as a child, So that was just my approach. Yes.
Mentioning bullying, have you ever encountered bullying like moving from Zim and coming this side? You know how other parents don't teach their children that we are one.
Absolutely.
Especially
Absolutely.
as Africans, we one.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter where do you come from, you know? So
I think I was just a bit careful about that, and to try and stay away from somebody that I suspect, could be a bully, or they can just start making comments or something like that. But in terms of directly somebody maybe direct something at me, I think I was a bit smart, like honestly, I was, chances are the bully wants something from me already. So for him to then have the guts to tell me nonsense, I think that it will be a little bit uneasy for them to do that, but I had a family member, she's actually back in Zim. She's younger. I mean, she was in school now, she's back in Zim because of she couldn't cope, with the level of bullying, stuff like that. And she was at like a very good school and stuff like that, but it affected her mentally so bad, so much that she just thinks, she's maybe people are laughing at her or something like that, So that was the first time I actually saw, how much bullying can push somebody over the cliff, But I would say, some African parents who live in South Africa, who grew up in South Africa, they have this thing of saying, "I survived South Africa," in that context, So I would say like I'm one of them, yeah.
So, have you ever had an encounter where your parents actually kind of probably made you aware of such stuff? I think it's in most cases that we as children never like get to have conversations with our parents in terms of, when you get to school, this is what you're going to encounter.
I think it's because nothing really happened. That was like, my parents are not very much into talking and stuff like that around social matters or something, even family matters. They just almost like trying to get their day by and stuff like that. But I never had like a sit down. Perhaps my dad might just say something like, "Hey, you gotta be careful of those guys." I think the only time when my mom will stand, or standing ground, if I have a friend, who is bad in school, or a friend that she thinks is a bad influence, yes, I should confront. She even would confront that person like in front of me, and that'll be like, like messing up my relationships or friendships or whatever it is. But yeah, I think they were just trying to make sure that if you do well in school, you're probably gonna be fine in terms of handling the challenges of life. So I sort of like believe in it. Now when you're grown, you almost think like, education is nothing. We wanna hustle and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a lot of background that they've laid, for us. So that's just my thing. Yeah.
So tell me, how did you manage to convince them that you are not gonna like go the educational way in terms of like, maybe pursuing a career path that is more educational in a sense? How did you actually convince them that, hey man, I'm an artist and this is what I'm gonna do?
So honestly speaking, I'm balanced. So it's not like I'm an artist. I have a company. Which it's a media company. That a record label. Right. But I actually went to university. I completed my studies. So they never had that challenge that our child is like, my parents were the first ones to buy me instruments and stuff like that, while I'm still at school, and I've always been that child who has like a studio at home. In the house you always have a studio and stuff like that. So um I didn't abandon, like school, because I still see value in that, So I'm someone who's doing well from a corporate perspective, and we want to bring that into music, because there's the music business at the end of the day, over and above the art that you want to do. So for me, if somebody says they're talented in whatever they want to do, I always say that, talent and getting results out of talent, it requires a lot of effort and a lot of money for the most part. You see, how do you work that out? I mean, we have heard stories of people who come to Joburg, then they go mad and they came as artists. Now you see them at a robot, whatever, and the things are not fine, because perhaps the balance between shifting between corporate life and the music, and trying to make the music business, you see, it's a very difficult challenge. That's why a lot of people would want to be under a label situation, you see, which is, I don't think I want to take that route. I think I do have the resources and the people to actually operate as if it's a label, type of thing, But in terms of convincing my parents, you see, they never felt threatened that I actually did my undergrad, I did my honors degree, still doing music, So um, even up to now, they are my biggest supporters. I mean, they will post my stuff, they'll post on their statuses, whatever it is, because they just see that, I mean, there's not much risk in this. It's not like I'm trying to kill myself.
Across, things that kind of set you back as an individual, and you happen to find people that now smoke drugs and they're actually good at what they do.
Absolutely.
They're
I
actually
mean,
good.
it's a sad situation because I'm in Bramfontein, those kind of areas, like even in Pretoria, those youngster vibe type of areas, you'd see those things where, there's a bit of confusion. But my thing is to say that music business it's one of the actually it's one of the oldest industries that we have in the world, right? But also very difficult. Music business does not care about your art and whatever, It's a different kind of dynamics. It's different from the art, you see. So if you want to play, then you gotta be like a big boy and try to learn as much as possible, because just because you are talented, I mean, like, if you look at the situation, Zahara situation, where she goes to a grave and she still doesn't understand, what happened in her career and stuff like that. It's just a signal to all of us to say that, what, in as much as you're talented, the music business aspect of it, you can't forget about it. You have to also be at least above average, in terms of operating that space. Yeah.
So, what actually inspired you to start the record label, apart from a business perspective? Was it a thing that you'd also want to recruit upcoming artists so that they can, like, it's more of like you offering them a platform for them to grow?
I would say that the thing with me is I always want to do things at my own pace, right, and my own terms. You see, I did mention that I went to varsity, I went to school and stuff like that. One thing that I always found difficult for me was to study, to have the teacher tell me what to study, then I come ready and prepared for the test and stuff like that. I always want to say, like, guys, just give me the whole pack, let me go home and do my thing, and I come back, I'm ready for the test. You see, that's the same approach I want to do, in life, to say that, what, let me figure these things by myself. Um, and there's many rules. I mean, like, the good thing about now, even big record labels are finding it difficult to make big artists now at the moment. I mean, the last time we had big artists is a long time ago. We have Tyler, who's just coming out now. We have a lot of some artists that are coming, but it's difficult. It looks like it's difficult for record labels to make even an international star, because of the fact that, things have changed, So I feel fortunate to be in that time, because then I can experiment as much as I want, So the thing of starting the record label is actually on that basis, that I do not want to. I want to do things at my own pace, figure things as I go. Of course, I have to be smart about it. I mean, that's the whole point of. I mean, you can't be smart in school and now in real life you dumb. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. You have to. You were smart in school so that you start figuring things out and apply principles. It's, your critical thinker, has to come out and so that's pretty much why I think, I have to do things my own way. Even if you look at our social media, the way we do things, we're having fun, and that's important. And I think the way we do it, it's not going to harm no one. It's not going to hurt no one. If we work with Bonga or whatever, I know people would say, like, you're working with a junkie, and stuff like that. And I know Bonga personally. I can tell you he's an amazing human being. The first time when I started working with Bonga, even my mom called me. I was actually going to pick him. Then my mom called me and said, like, isn't that guy doing drugs or whatever and stuff like that? She was really worried, and she was right, because I also lost my phone during the process, just to show how dangerous it is. But for me, it's part of the experience, and I have to be wiser and wiser by the day.
Guys, this man is such an intellect.
Is
No,
it?
you like no, this guy is like
No
really,
way.
really smart. I feel like we need such guys in the world,
Nah,
apart from the music industry.
I just think that life is too complicated, guys. For anybody to say someone is smart. Like life is humbling all of us. I mean, all of a sudden you're smart. No, you can't. Like,
And what makes me curious is your age. Is it okay to ask?
no,
your
you can
age?
ask my age, yes. Yeah.
And whether you feel that you are matured enough to be able to face life.
That's a very good question. So at this moment I'm 32 years old. You see, so I'm not like a teenager. Remember, I'm living the life that I wanted to live when I was 20. But when I was 20, I was busy with my studies, right? And if you're 20 and you're busy with your studies, I mean, like the things that those guys were teaching us, it's stuff that has been developed over years, and they just put it together over 3 years and say like, well, here's your degree. So you are equipped in a certain manner. So if I go to people and we're talking strictly finance stuff, I can sit in that boardroom, I can have it. I mean, that's what I do during the week. But as real life is also very difficult. I mean, like, when I was just thinking, like, if I have a family now, like, for example, I have my own child and my own wife, you see, would I be able to do what I do? Nah, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And that's the reason why I'm not in that space where I got married and stuff like that. I could be, I could be doing that and stuff like that. But I'm saying, like, perhaps at a different level. When my dad got married when I was 25, you see, there's nothing wrong with what he did, but it probably it's different times, and he didn't have the burden that I have, in terms of I wanna have the company, I wanna employ people and stuff like that. You see, but now in the past 10 years, you see, the level of knowledge I was able to acquire, I can only be grateful, because I have colleagues and friends who went overseas. Who, some of them are local, some of them are working here and stuff like that. And sometimes when I get something that is technical, and I want to reach out to them, guys, I mean, do you know how to solve this thing? Then you realize, oh, they haven't been in that space. You see, it just shows me how much fortunate I am to be operating in the spaces I'm operating. And guiding the guidance that you also get from people who've been in the game. I'm talking about in the corporate world. I mean, you feel fortunate. So even the way I approach even things like mental health and stuff like that. You see, I mean, I thank God that when I was supposed to break down, I thank God I didn't break down, because then that showed me to say, like, oh, this is how you navigate this thing. There is a thing such as mental health. Because it is a thing, even in corporate world or musicians, worse enough.
Tell us more about that. What are the challenges faced?
In terms of mental health, I think for me, mental health, the word itself, I knew the word when I was growing up, but the first time I had something like a mental hurdle, was when I started working as an auditor. Because I worked as an auditor, I had a 3-year training as an auditor, and
Yay.
the environment there, I mean, like, it's a difficult environment. It's one of those industries where they always gonna be scarce. In any country, you're always gonna have fewer auditors than you need. Because people, when they get into that audit field, they get the experience, they jump out, they get into other opportunities. You see, because the environment is just too hard. There's deadlines. It's just you can handle it only for a short period of time. I did it for 4 years. I couldn't do it for 5 years. You see, I can tell you, like, if it's a Friday, you know still my mind is still on that hyper thing, you know. So even the weekend, you're not even gonna enjoy it, you see. And that was the first time I actually like faced with like mental health, because mental health, it's, you know, remember, you're only telling yourself things, right? Yeah. And I remember I called my dad and I'm saying, like, you know what, do you know anything about mental health? You know, and the guy is so African, you know, saying, so we don't know those things. There's no such things, you know. Yes, you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, if you are in that space, I mean, people use drugs even at the biggest firms, and you know, that are multinationals. You know, people use drugs to try and cope in the pressure. You know, so that was the first time I never mind the pressure of, like, if you're writing an exam or whatever, you have a heartbreak or whatever it is. You know, those are just, you know. But the one where you start questioning life, or now you don't know what's wrong with your body and stuff, that was the first time, you know. But I've never cross the line in terms of, hey man, life doesn't mean anything. That, you know, like, I always, you know, I actually spoke to another lady who I talked to her when I saw she posted, she's on her status, she posted that, you know, by the way, so and so has died. You know, she's referring to herself, she's writing, she want to see how people are going to react, you know. And people are saying, like, you know, people are going to say, like, what, she says, oh, I'm your sister, you know, she has passed on, unfortunately she's going to be buried, blah, blah. So immediately I knew that, you know, she's got mental issues, this one, you know, like, you can't be in that space, I mean, you know, especially when you're young, whatever. So that's when I just reach out, and I'm when you talk, I just realize, man, like, whatever that, don't think for 30 seconds about something that gives you a headache, you know, don't, you know, because your mind, you know, your soul is gonna get tired. If, you know, if your body gets tired, that's a different story. But if your mind,
That's easier said than done.
by any means, by any means, it's but remember, now you almost like needs to be in your own team as well, to say that, you know what, I need to protect myself. You see, none of us can stand a mental attack. None of us can. If you're in that space, none of everything, all the best things in the world mean anything, you know. So you always want to protect your thinking, knowing that, you know what, if you're so fatigued, you know, you're at risk, you know, you are at risk. I mean, why must you think, you know, I obviously need to make enough revenue this month, you see, but why must I overthink about it? You know, even if you can't pay your car installment, I mean, is that the end of the world? Remember, there's people who actually can get into, you know, in spiral because of things like those, you know, like, you know, your child, you know, you can't, you know, it's probably you opening schools and you don't have school fees or whatever it is, and you start, you know, thinking things, you know, it's real stuff, it's real stuff. But mental issues also encompasses everything. Sometimes it's not big problems, sometimes it's just, now your mind is already fatigued, so any small thing that challenges your mind or your soul or your spirit, you know, you're already fatigued. But I mean, like, I mean, it's complicated. I mean, there's professional for these things, but at the end of the day, just because you care about other people, you also try to learn from other people. I mean, we had Ricky, when everybody's saying his career is great and stuff like that, you know,
That was a surprise.
he's a surprise, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, um I feel like, you know what, if I'm in a position where I haven't crossed the line, you know, because once you cross the line, when you've attempted, you know, now I mean, only professionals can assist, because that's deep, man.
I'm
That's
curious, do you have a mentor or someone guiding you whenever you're facing such situations, or is life your teacher?
um mentors, I think I learn from everybody, right? I do. You know, I don't have somebody specific that I think, you know, but I listen to everyone, you know. And also, you know, when you're busy, because my life is always busy, you know, but when you're busy, you you probably don't have much time to worry about things that you could worry about, you know. So that's another saving grace, because yeah, I mean, like, if last week was a crazy week, I mean, like, you know, from where I work as well, you know. um so at the end of the day, Ish, man, I look up to a lot of people, and I can see look up to means I can learn, from them. It also means I can see their mistakes and I can criticize just within my mind, criticize within. So like, I think this is where it went wrong, etc., etc. But specifically to say like a mentor, hey man, I don't know, I don't know that one. Yes.
I'm curious as to how you spend your day. Take us through your day. Seems like you have a very busy schedule.
Now I have a busy schedule, you see. So if I didn't mention, I'm also in corporate, so I've done well for myself in that respect, because when you're young and you think you are like in the top 1% of South Africa, you always like fortunate, to be in that space, you see. But I wake up like I think these days I wake up 5, you know. Yes, I wake up 5. I'm laughing because I saw a video online of a guy who's lying and he has his daughter there just to see if the daughter is gonna react. To say I wake up and I do 10 kilometers of a run and stuff like that to see how the kid is gonna react. But um now I'm saying like I need to get into the studio before there's some projects that I need to complete and stuff like that, so I want to do that between when I wake up and 6:30, if I can take a shower, you know then I try to get work at 7, you know um the moment you get to work, I mean, it's crisis after crisis. That's what it is. I mean, at the level that I am at, you see, it's crisis management. That's what it is. You're just managing things that can go wrong. That's it. You see. So it's just different. What's that adrenaline? That just comes in, and you know. So I leave like, is it 5:30 to 6? That's when I leave, So immediately after that, then I have to read this bro, because we have to create content, especially if it's a Thursday, Friday, you know. We have to create content, and the way I just think about content for me, I think my mind is very silly, and I want to do those silly things. That's what it is, and it's almost like you going out, because if I spend time with a stranger, someone that I don't know, they're gonna say like, "Hey man, you're interesting," like the way we just did things. You see, those are the things that I'm thinking half the time. So why not just try to do them? I can say I like thinking ridiculous things. That's what I like. Things that are borderline offensive or whatever, but not to anyone, just within my mind. Some of those things I write them as content and script them and we post, because content creation is now one of the biggest tools for to put yourself out there for marketing. That's why the traditional media powerhouses and traditional distribution are struggling to figure this thing out, because you can't tell someone like Drake, to say that, hey man, we need content like this. He wants to be on stage, because back in the day, that's what worked. Back in the day, they just put your song on radio. If it does great, you're a superstar. But now things have changed. People are streaming stuff from their own devices. People want to see stuff on TikTok now. Some people are even writing songs which are only tailored for TikTok. It's changing a whole lot of things, you see. So yeah, that's I was speaking about my day, right? And normally I go to bed maybe between 10 and 11, and unfortunately, in my time, with all these things that I developed a bad habit of what you call this, not sleeping, insomnia. Yes, you see, that's one thing that I also battle with from time to time. And if you explain that thing to someone, they will not understand, because some people can just go to bed and a couple seconds they're out, you see. But with me, yeah, it's when it's that period, whether it's 2 weeks, whatever, I do struggle. Sometimes I remember I once wrote some of my final exams without even sleeping for 4 days straight. You go to bed but you don't sleep. You don't fall asleep, and that is I think that's crazy because when you wake up, you want to be fresh and stuff like that, But perhaps the country at some point we have a discussion around insomnia, just like how we talk about mental health, because I think it's another form of mental health because your body is not able to shut down and calm. Some of because my dad also has a little bit of insomnia sometimes, judging from what he says, so it can be a mixture of your circumstances plus, and also the things that I do during the day. If it's too much adrenaline you release in your body, where's all of that gonna go? I'm not a scientist, but I can only just assume that probably I'm struggling to calm down because I still have active hormones, to be active when you really want hormones to just pass out and stuff like that. So just one of those.
So tell me, what influenced your music career?
What influenced me?
Yes, what influenced you to actually start?
This one is it's a God thing, really. Yes, it's a God thing. When God just give you something, you will never find peace until you do it. You just obey it. Bigger you say God, or you say the universe or the higher power, whatever it is that you would say. Because I mean, at this point, the people that I work with sometimes they'll ask you, they go for holidays. They could go to Israel, they can go overseas, they can travel, they could go to Cape Town, whatever, and they can't figure out why you not telling us that, hey, I was in such and such a place, for 2 weeks and it was amazing. And I'm just thinking, guys, you see, that same money that I could spend for that, I could do a lot into my company. I can invest it, I can reinvest it, plow back, whatever it is, and wait for the day when you start to generate. And also music, I'm traveling quite a lot, because of music. Now I'm this in the east side of Joburg because of music, you know so I just think that it's really is a God thing. There's a lot of things that I'm foregoing, and there's a lot of normal things that I'm foregoing because you're just trying to obey to this. I used to think that one day I had a dream when God was saying, just go to the world, do this music thing, and it's real. It's real, and I live my day like that, really like that I need to just find ways to get out there to the world, share my gift with the people, etc., etc. So it's not something that I can disobey or anything like that. Otherwise I'm not gonna have no peace. That's when you start questioning life and stuff like that as well, because if something that is coming from within, I'm no spiritual deep person or anything like that, but I can tell you that there is a level of peace in just doing the things that you believe you're called to do. Yeah.
So in that statement, I've picked up that you have concluded to say that this is a gift rather than a talent, because
What's
those
the
are
difference?
there's huge difference. There's a huge difference. I think one should actually do research on that, but there's a huge difference. I mean, a gift is more of like something that you discover along the way that you were actually ordained to do.
Okay.
And then a talent is more of like, okay, I know that I'm good at this.
Now
I know that I'm good
yeah.
at it, and I'm gonna do my best
Oh,
to,
okay.
unlike someone that didn't really know that, ish, I was capable of doing this.
So it's more of a gift, like, because if something that you involuntarily feel compelled, to be doing, yes, that's my position. Like, really, 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 I'm not even lying. I could have gone for the amazing holidays. Really, I could have, by a mile, like a lot, because I've seen people who do it, but I don't do it, because I'm just thinking I need to reinvest into myself. I need to reinvest into my company, etc., etc. And in my mind, it makes sense. It makes sense to the point that sometimes my family, because my family, I mean, almost most of the holidays they can go to Zim or whatever it is, as a family, and I'm just not part of it because I'm saying, like, oh guys, that's the same time I need to be doing A, B, C, for the things I couldn't do during the year because of other commitments and stuff like that, you see, and you end up looking like probably you don't like people or anything like that. But hey, some things are bigger than yourself, I guess.
While just on that note, what are the challenges that you've faced ever since you've started in the music industry?
The challenges. Yo, I like everything about music business. I really like everything about music business. So it's difficult for me to see something as a challenge. Maybe things like these traditional distribution channels that are already there, radio, TV, and stuff like that. And for you to convince those guys that, I mean, like, hey guys, here's what's happening, and stuff like that. I mean, they have their own understanding, they are their own people and stuff like that. And you know, with time, you need to find a way to get to make relationships with those people. It's not just like in South Africa. Once you make it in South Africa, you still need to do something to every other African country. You still need to do that same thing to every other continent that you want to go to. So at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest challenge because those are people with their own principles. They have, so for them to work with you, they must like something about you and stuff like that, or you must be at a certain level for them to actually decide, okay, I think we have something that's happening here. I think that tends to be the biggest challenge because if you go to a record label or any established record label, they already have these relationships with these people, So you almost like piggyback on whatever they already have. You see, but if you're yourself, you now need to find a plug. You need to um, uh, manage all these things. For me, I like managing things because before you pay someone to do something for you, you already know how to do it. So somebody's not gonna just bullshit and say, "Oh, I'm gonna charge you this amount." You already know. Like it takes this much effort, takes this much time. On what basis are you gonna charge me that amount? Then you can have the conversation, and plus you already have a skill that you have gathered. Even say like social media management. You need to know everything about social media management as an artist, because how are you going to engage somebody to manage your social media when you don't know anything? They're going to tell you anything and you're going to believe it. You see. So in as much as it's challenges, to me it's also opportunities, because I get to learn new things. I get to struggle for some time trying to crack something. Until you figure it out, then you're like, okay. Now, if you sell that service to someone, you already know this is what it takes. This is the amount of time it's going to take me, and I'm justifiable to charge this amount and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, as an artist, we do sell exposure. That's what we do. To brands or to people or whatever. So not so much challenges but opportunities for me.
That's good.
So earlier on you spoke about God. You mentioned God. So I wanted to ask, are you a religious person? And if so, how does spirituality play a role?
Yes. First of all, I was raised Christian. Yes. That's to begin with. I think I have a relationship with God because I there's certain things that you can ask, to say like, please God, this year I need to do ABC and stuff like that. You see, I might not necessarily agree with some of the practices that we see, like recently in South Africa we have had this whole wave of what you call these pastors, they so energetic, man. There's a word that they use for these pastors, miraculous and stuff like that, that just came and took over, from the traditional churches that we were used to. There, I mean, it's different things that you can pick from there. I think I like the energy. I like the belief that they bring into people. But I might not like um maybe something that looks like a scam. I might not like something that uh, like that look like a fraud to the poor or something like that. I might not like that, if it looks like that, but in terms of myself and God, I always say like myself and God we like this, you see, because clearly, I mean, I'm raised well, and if I need to get something done, I ask God, I find a way to do it, you see. But for me to say like religiously I'm going to church or something like that, no, I'm not that guy.
What type of music are you into? And some Christians can say maybe the type of music you're doing contradicts with
With a
the religion that
you see that's where I then say that what spiritualism and church should not wipe the God-given ability to think, you see, because God gave you a mind, and this in that mind, now we know, I mean, there's an IQ. You can actually measure how big the mind is, IQ and everything, you see. And I always believe, I discuss this thing with my mom all the time, to say that God has to start where your abilities end, the abilities that He gave you. In other words, you can't ask God to do what you can do, you see, because I mean, like, God is not your servant, like, you can't ask God to do what you can do, that's why there's a whole lot of people who I sometimes I have an opportunity to meet a CEO of a company that is 20 years old, and they're doing this, when you talk to the guy and he takes you down the journey, what products or services they sell, you say like, this person, it makes sense why they're successful, because you can see the detail, then there's a person who doesn't have any detail, then he says God this, I just think that that's not how it works, you see, because we do that in Africa quite a lot, in terms of like, whenever we meet a challenge, we're going to say God this, you see. Recent one being COVID, like everyone was just crazy about COVID, I mean, what's happening and stuff like that, you see. Then some people go ahead and they fund their scientists, they deep dive this thing, come up with vaccines and stuff like that. Then you still have other people who just say, what, got this. I don't know if COVID was a hoax or whatever it is, but every same can be said about any other challenge, even the economy, like if you want to say like the South African economy, we want to build it, want to this and that, you can't say God this and that, because all these things are counted, you can account for the GDP, you can account for all these important things, you see. There's too much detail that you can just wipe off by saying God, this, I'm saying that, what, we shouldn't use God to not to be lazy in terms of thinking, God is going to work at the end, when your ability, the ability that He gave you, has ended, then you can see, now, my child, this you can't do this, or maybe this is spiritual, this is a spiritual thing, that's when you think you can't use the physical for the spiritual, but you can't use the spiritual for the physical. It shouldn't be like that, at least to me, because I agree with a lot of pastors and stuff like that, but I think in Africa we're just doing it the other way, you know. Instead of it working for us, it's not.
Who would you say you look up to in the music industry?
In the music,
Currently, yes.
sure. Look up to. That's a big. By the way, I'm a musician, right? So I like to play instruments. I like to sing. I like to rap and stuff like that. So I always think like, for each of those important segments, I could have somebody that I I admire for that. Let's say somebody is a performer. I could admire that they perform, but that doesn't mean that they're great. They're the greatest singer. They could be a greatest performer. So that's why that question is it's kind of tricky for me, because if you're talking about people who are producers for hip hop, I can tell you maybe the top two. I would say like the people who have made a difference when I was growing up was Timberland and Scott Storch. I don't know, I can't say his name properly, but they made some of the greatest hits that people like 50 Cent or whatever, used to sing on those beats, you see. but that's just the production, that's just the being a producer. But now when you're talking about a mix engineer, that's a different thing. I have to look for someone like, so I appreciate each and everybody, for I appreciate everybody for their beats, that's why, even in the South African context, I just think that, the guys who have been doing it for the past couple of days, past couple of years, sort of like made this whole thing collapse. That's why people are saying like hip hop is dead, because they glorified the wrong stuff, and music was taken out of the equation. It became all about PR, like who do you know, I mean, like how much connections you have, who is your plug, and the center of music got taken away. That's why it's difficult for hip hop to battle with amapiano, because amapiano still has the element of saying like, artists can freestyle. They can come and make sounds of bad sounds, like, like singing like a bird, whatever it is, because it's still part of being an artist and stuff like that, you see. But for hip hop, it became too much PR. Is it gonna play on radio? Are they gonna allow it and stuff like that? And the craft and the art was taken out of the equation. That's why I'm just thinking, like, for me, um, you know, uh, people who love my music love my music. People who hate my music, of course, they have to hate it. You see, I'm okay with both of them, and both of them are good for me either way, because they make it obvious known in when they comment. They make their feelings known. So that's, I like it. Yeah.
So how did you secure a collaboration with Emtee?
With Emtee.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had just an internal discussion with the team. I also have like a whole team that I work with, and in terms of talent, I think Emtee is talented, and when we discussed, it was within 2 minutes, like Emtee's name came, because pretty much it was the talent for the most part. I think if I'm to say like, if I'm to collaborate with anybody, I might just think like Blackie, because I like his vocals. I was speaking about something like how you appreciate an artist. I appreciate Blackie's vocals. I like his vocals. You see, I wouldn't care about the beat. His vocals, I like them. I can decide to say, okay, well, let's collaborate with someone like Blackie. But for Emtee, I mean, the guy is super talented, man. And we figured out, I mean, we're actually staying in the same area, actually. So it was an easy conversation. And when we were supposed to go record, we said like, let's go. They said studios in Pretoria, and they gave us a location. So my manager and myself were driving in different cars, and we got there, and I'm just getting there. I'm like, hey man, this place looks dodgy, It was some weird dodgy place, man. Like, what, and I'm like, I mean, let me just look for the police here, in case anything happens, let me just, yeah.
So who suggested that place? Who suggested that you go to that particular location?
No, it was coming from Emtee's team.
Really?
Yeah. So we were supposed to go pick somebody who was close to Emtee, then go to the studio. So when we went to the place first, I thought that was the studio. No, we were just going to pick the person.
Okay.
You see. So I just went to the Metro Corps. I'm like, guys, please just follow me a little bit, because I'm not sure, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I just saw Emtee's face. So I'm like, okay, bye, we're good. Then we just went there, and the homie chilled, play the beat, you play over and over. Then he gets into the studio, he records. I'm like, I mean, that's good,
Mhm.
and we hit him some time later, say like, let's record the visuals, the video, and they're fine. I mean, I went and I picked him, we went and we finished, and after that we even drove. I think we went to Soweto. I'm forgetting the place, man. Eldos. Yes. Yes. And
that place is also quite dangerous.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's one thing that he was also saying, because now imagine if you getting Emtee into some form of security trouble because you're driving with him. I mean, that's just crazy. But he then is like, hey man, like on the road you're not fearless, because yeah, he was just saying that I wasn't driving any fast or anything like that, but they felt that because the other guys said like, hey man, we got kids, man, we got kids. You see, so I'm like, guys, I'm the safest driver ever, in the whole country. You can date me, like.
Really?
Yeah, because like when you do this, people think like you're about to kill them. I just avoided an accident, when I did that, you see. So that was just something that I'm just like, he doesn't have many words to say. It's just chilled, we even went out, had pizza and stuff like that. Yeah.
Please tell us about the track.
Keyboard Warrior.
Keyboard Warrior.
Yes.
Like I first things first, I'd like to say I must give it to you. The terminology of that song is like amazing. I love the thing, the title of the song. What inspired the title, to be precise?
Yeah, it's that whole thing that you need to go against the odds, So what we see recently is that people, it's very easy for people to comment negative things online, Actually, even now, people know that I'm promoting a song called Keyboard Warrior, but they go online and become keyboard warriors on the same, like,
This guy got bars for days. Wow.
But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, when people are passing negative comments, now it's easy for people because all you just have to do is sprout nonsense online. You can even hurt somebody, mental health, whatever, with the stuff that you type online, but people do it anyway. So all I'm saying is to say, like, guys, we don't have to be to listen to these people. We have to, whatever that you believe you're gonna do, just do it. People are always gonna speak. Now it's easy for them to speak because they can easily be sitting behind a keyboard and they type and stuff like that and just crush your spirit. So we're not gonna let that happen. I think that is applicable even from a Christian perspective or Islam perspective. You're always gonna have some adversity, people commenting or whatever, whether it's family members or anything. I remember when my mom says, at one point she actually had to defend me from my other family members, because they say like, hey man, this guy is going crazy online and stuff like that, But at the end of the day, I'm doing what I believe. I'm not hurting no one, I don't have to listen. I can listen from a constructive perspective, but pure hate, no, yes.
So apart from your music career, is there anything else that you do, like fashion-wise? I noticed you have some stylish glasses there.
I think as an artist, you want to express your art in different ways, When we shoot music videos or anything like that, I'm also part of the guys who are directing or writing the script or whatever, even picking the venue, the people that you're gonna invite, etc., because I still think like you're still trying to express yourself, Same comes to clothes, about 2 years back, I was struggling to get clothes locally, like people say support local, I was really struggling to find, that kind of flair, and stuff like that. Sometimes you ship from whatever website and stuff like that, and it will take a month to get here and stuff like that, But sometimes it's also because of the fact that we have so much talented fashion designers and people here, but it's just a matter of like perhaps the marketing perspective will not just linking. That's one thing I realized. Is yesterday I went to Soweto. I see there's a whole lot of designers and whatever they have. They're selling this, they're selling that. I'm like, these are the things I'm looking for. I even bought this thing from, I don't know, China or whatever it is, but you guys have these things. Yes.
I think Harper, you need to also have like great plugs. If you have someone that knows places,
it's a plug issue, it's a plug issue. But I also think that let's say at this point it's a plug issue, but I'm meeting, I actually last week I met someone in Bram just wearing some crazy pants. I'm like, dude, where'd you get these pants? I thought he was gonna say Shane or something like that. Then he gave me a website, and then I just looked at it. I'm like, it's a local website. I hit the brew up, and the brew like, no, we have stock and stuff like that. You see, I'm like, I'll hit you up and stuff like that, So I got to a point that if I see somebody wearing something that I like, I have to ask them, from where did you get this? Because I might just never meet them again and not have the opportunity to get something that I find impressive and stuff like that. But I've been trying to be stylish, ever since I was a kid. I always want to say, my parents used to say like, not, we should never try to buy him clothes because he's gonna think whatever we buy is crap, because you're always thinking, this and that, but I try to mix these things, if I say like these shades, I got this one, then I got the chain, like the chain, like those creative stores where you buy
Accessories for stuff.
yes, there's also some costume stores,
Mm-hmm.
like I got one in Centurion that I normally go. That's when I get this, then I attach it to that. I'm like, oh, this is good. Then I get the green ones as well, and just like, what. So it's part of me just trying to express, and down the line, before you know it, you now have your own match, probably you producing it and selling it and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and it's part of the journey though, but you gotta, I wanted to just identify myself a little bit first, you see. But my thing is to say, like, if I see any piece of clothes that I like, you see, I must get it. I really must get it, because if I don't get it, I mean, then what am I doing, So
Can you plug me with those actually? Yeah, no,
I
they
can
actually they
I can
actually
plug
looked
you. I
they
can plug
actually
you with
yeah,
this.
yeah, sure.
I
They,
can
they
plug you,
actually
yes.
looked good on Jabulo, so I also wanna get him something.
I can plug you like for
nah.
real.
Yeah, they
I can
actually,
plug you like for
yeah,
real
please
though.
do.
Yes,
Yo,
yes.
yo, no, they look dope.
Thanks.
So please tell me, I mean, you did mention some of the challenges that you guys encountered the first time you went to find a studio with Emtee.
Mhm.
I mean, you were still picking up someone, right?
Yes.
Yes. Didn't you like encounter any other challenges apart from you like driving in a reckless way? Whenever you guys were going to shoot
Yeah.
the music
The music video.
Yes.
I would say that we had booked the venue for 4 hours.
Okay.
Yes, from 12. It's crazy, yeah. From 12. Was it 12? Was it 12 to couple hours? You see. So we went to fetch Emtee. That's crazy because the guys wanted to go to Zambia or something like that. So they need to get something. So we waited for them, which meant now I'm starting to chow the time I'm supposed to be on set. And now the venue wants to charge you more. I actually wish they did. I mean, they end up having to charge us more. So like, guys, you guys booked up for 4 hours, but you ended up being here for 6 or 8 hours. I can't remember. You see, then they charge you more. But on the first attempt that we shot, I mean, I think we almost shot for almost like the entire day. That day we didn't have Emtee. It was just we're models and stuff like that, you see. But then transport is an issue. Organizing transport, especially when you have 30 people coming, a lot of people coming from different parts of the province or different parts of Joburg, you almost like one central point. You organize transport from there for people to come I don't know how we ended up booking 2 taxis, you see. And dealing with taxi people is very, very difficult because those guys don't play, because they be telling you, so we're just ranking here. You think we just parked our taxi here just the entire day, and I'm gonna go back with nothing. And now they wanna fight somebody. The guy who called, the guy who was assisting me with transport, and you have another model who's afraid to use the taxi. You must cater for their private needs. It's just some of those things that it happens. I think everybody, when they're organizing an event, you will have this type of challenges. But it's very difficult to arrange any form of transport, without having a proper conversation with the taxi people, because they're gonna stop your taxi that you have hired and say, guys, are you allowed to use this route? Then you realize the guy is not allowed to use the route, and you thought that everything was fine. You see, now these guys start charging you whatever they want. Hey,
Yo.
dude.
But I think it's a whole lot easier if you have a crew designated for shoots. That way that you have your models that you use for music videos.
But how do you transport them? Because if you transport them, You know, the other taxi, they stopped our taxi and they wanted, I think, 1.5 on the spot.
Oh my God. I
You
know
see?
that drama of taxi
Yes, and they,
associations
they
and
they
stuff.
stop it. They literally stop it, and the guy knows he can't go. He can even call his boss, the owner, and stuff
Oh.
like that. But there's nothing you can do. You know, you now need to talk to the bros. I mean, like, guys, I have half of that, or whatever it is, something that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why I say, like, experience. Now, next time when you ask someone to say, like, dude, you can, okay, you catering for transport. I mean, we saw what happened with EFF. I mean, they say the same thing. I mean, it's not EFF, action, no, a patriotic essay.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they had an event. When was it? In Soweto, I think. You know, yes, where they couldn't fill the stadium because they say, like, the transport has been sabotaged, whatever. They couldn't ferry people with the buses and stuff like that.
Is it more like a political thing?
That's what they were saying.
Really?
That's what they were saying. But for me, I also know that it's difficult to arrange transport. So you really need people who are very competent to run the transport scenario, because if you have people coming from, I mean, Mpumalanga, Limpopo and stuff like that, it's difficult. Remember, people can be late. They can pitch on the common area where you're picking people. They come an hour later. I mean, what do you do? The bus is gone. It's gone. So it's just a lot of challenges. So when you see these political parties celebrating that they fill the stadium and stuff like that, yeah, there's a lot of work that they do behind it to ferry people to. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to upcoming artists that also want to like enter into the music industry? Like what are the things that you'd like to make them aware of?
Wow. Hey man. What? Hey, I'm a realistic person. Like, why the music? Why not anything else? Yeah, because what, when these youngsters, when it fails, you see, they don't even have a second plan. They don't even have plan B. That's how you end up being getting into depression, and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of people who came from wherever, coming into Joburg because that's where it's happening. And things don't work out, they end up on the street and stuff like that. I actually saw a story where somebody says, this guy used to be top person, in my class. I just saw him at something, still rapping and stuff like that. But so for me, if you are a parent or you have a brother or whatever, you see, if you do have the resource to support them, support them. Otherwise, they need to go through the label situation. But we also saw horror stories, even in label situations. You
A lot
see,
of exploitation.
it's not like I'm discouraging someone or anything like that. Or I would say that, you don't study music, because you can go on YouTube and learn, the science behind music and stuff like that. Don't go to university to do that. You see, study something that can pay bills, so that you are able to do this thing. I think that's what I would tell them, because if it fails, because your odds of success very small. It's by chance that whole, something went viral and people like you. It's by chance, really. So you would say that, get a skill, get a proper skill that will pay, that the world needs and stuff like that, that you can use to leverage towards your music. Don't just be, now you smoking weed the whole day, drinking whatever that is it that people be drinking, and being in the studio the whole day. That ain't gonna take you nowhere, you see, because it is very difficult. Remember, you already have executives, who are helping people in the music industry, because and those people have experience. Not that I'm discouraging someone, you're just being a realist. You're just being a realist. And get a skill. That's the advice I would say. Get a skill that pay the bills, so that when you do your music, you're not under pressure because of finances, like I need to pay rent. Because once you're in that space, that's not a space for a creative. I know you could come up with struggle, whatever, but it also can come at a very high expense of your mental health as well. If you don't plan these things. Tell you what, when I was in high school, I knew that I need to do music. You see, I knew it. I even had the means to do it. You see, but I did not even tell my parents that, guys, I need to study music. I've seen people study music. But you can spend time just like a skill. You can spend time learning the music skill. But you have your things going. Yes.
Yeah. So, what can we expect from you going forward in the future? Like, is there any other collaborations that you'd like to do with some of the biggest artists?
Yes. So first of all, we have the music video coming. Sometime during this year, when everything makes sense, we're gonna release the music video. I can already tell you that the level of expertise that we applied on that music, you see, even Emtee was shocked. And this is somebody who's coming from Ambitious, and Ambitious, they used to excel in terms of videos, man. If you look at their videos, you can see there's proper planning, proper resources behind it. But even for him, I was having that background, he was also impressed by the way that we did top venues, top people, top actors, whatever. That's one thing. I have songs after that, that I would also want to release, you see. But remember, music production and everything is about 10% of the assignment. That 90% is the production, it's the marketing, promotion and stuff like that, you see. So that's what you're gonna see most of us, us doing this year. A lot of being out there, a lot of trying to be in people's faces, etc., etc. So I can tell you, I already have lots of songs. I already have uh, some of the most amazing videos that you've ever seen. We already have them in the bag. Just now a matter of say, like, at the right time we share it with the people, etc., etc.
Well, where can people find you? I mean, load shedding. Where can people find you? On which platforms can we find you? How can people connect with you?
Everywhere, really. So my name, like you just said, it's unique. So on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's Englibeth. On distribution platforms, of course, social media. iTunes. What else can I think of? Spotify, YouTube Music,
Apple Music.
Apple Music, everywhere.
No, thank you for coming and joining us here. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you on this platform. I mean, everyone who's watching this, I'd like to believe that Leluna, you're satisfied, and thank you, man.
Thanks so much for your time and the warmth, to hear it, But I want to also tell people to select. They must follow this one, They must, you know what I'm saying, because we will also try to do our level best to share with our people, so that we can direct our traffic to your side.
Well, we have reached the last part of our episode. Please do like, subscribe, and click that button. Bye, guys.